Welcome, everybody, to episode 106 of the DOD-Cast. Today, I have a special guest with me. I got Hawk's Hoops with me right now. Well, Aaron, but I call him Hawk. Everyone calls him Hawk. And we're going to talk a lot of basketball today, just for anyone that, doesn't like basketball. You might want to leave now. But if you're interested in basketball, like a lot of people that follow me and Hawk are, then tune in. We're going to talk about the upcoming season, some of our picks for the awards coming up. Maybe some of the rookies that are playing. We could talk about some of them. We can talk about really everything. So if you have any interest in anything NBA related, we're going to get to it today. And I'm excited to get into it. But first, Hawk, I'm going to give you some time to introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know you already.
Well, Dan, once again, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Always excited to talk some hoops with you. My name is Hawk, like he said, Aaron, but you can call me Hawk. I'm just a fan who really loves basketball. I have a podcast that I actually just started a podcast. I used to be mainly live streamers where I have a live stream every week. I'm switching over to a new format, doing more of a podcast style stuff. I post a lot of TikToks about the NBA. Check out my YouTube, check out my TikTok. But I'm just a fan who really loves basketball. I consume a lot of basketball media. I watch a lot of basketball. I read a lot of articles. I don't necessarily consider myself an expert. I'm not like one of those guys who's, I know it because I played overseas. That's not me. I'm a guy who played in high school, and I love the sport, and I like talking about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, I guess. So I give myself a little bit of basketball background. I played in high school. I love basketball, and I've watched too much to not talk about it. So it would be a waste if I didn't talk with all the knowledge that I've built up. Obviously we don't have any NBA experts in here, like the Pat Bev podcast or Paul George podcast. They all got their own. They're ruining it for us. But they're really good, actually. So I'm enjoying those. But yeah, I guess to start, I just want to get into some of the most exciting pieces of the NBA season. Wherever that takes us is where it takes us. But I want to know, what are you looking forward to most in this 23-24 season? Maybe it's a player, it's just a random thing. Maybe something that about your life, like, those Tuesday nights you get some hoop. Like, what is it that you're most excited about coming into the season?
I'd say, honestly, most excited first, just watching. I'm enjoying the playoffs, obviously. But I'm so looking forward to actual real regular season games, real level of competitions, fourth quarters that matter. That is,
yeah.
The biggest thing I'm excited to see personally, if I'm going full hype train here, I want to see. I love Wemby, and I'm sure we'll talk about him. I love Chet. I love both of them. I want to see Zion Williamson play healthy basketball. I'm so high on him, and the only reason I continue to be so high on him, I know he hasn't played. Out of his 4 seasons he's been in so far, I think it's like 30% of the games. It's some crazy statistic of how many games he's missed. Mm-hmm. But when he's on the court, like, it's absolutely unstoppable. When he's on the court, he's everything that he was hyped up to be. It's just, it happens to only be when he's on the court.
Right.
And that's once a year.
That's an incredible point. I feel like, honestly, for someone, like, I love hoops, obviously, but Zion's been falling to the back of my mind. And he's like the most exciting prospect, and especially when he got drafted, he was the most exciting prospect we had seen since LeBron. Now we have another one in Wemby, which is obviously really exciting, and Chet's a freak, and even Scoot's a beast, and we got some really cool athletes coming in and that have still yet to shine. But Zion really hasn't had a full season to be Zion yet.
It's just, is he going to be able to play?
Yeah,
but I have no questions about the ability.
The best ability is availability.
That is true.
That's the common trope. Another thing would be the mid-season tournament.
Yes.
I feel like it was like a big deal when they first announced it, and now no one cares anymore. But it's like a fascinating thing. Like, we're adding in an entire, like, it's like adding in an all-star weekend. It's a huge part of the season now. And I don't know. I think it's kind of getting swept under the rug. What are your thoughts on it?
It's definitely getting swept under the rug. I think part of it is because it's new, because it's the first year. When it was first announced, everyone was excited about it. Everyone wanted to read as much as about it, to figure out, are these actually extra games? How many extra games is it going to be? Are players going to be motivated? Now that we realize that most of the games are just what would have been regular season games anyway, they just have an extra weight to them, I guess I'll say. I am excited for the in-season tournament. I don't know how many eyeballs it'll get this first year. I think mainly just diehard fans will watch it the first year. But I see what the NBA is trying to do in terms of, this could be really big, like 5, 6, 7. It might take a long time, but a couple years down the line, if the NBA commits to it, this could be a huge thing. And like you said, this is like a second All-Star break. This kid has the ability to be, maybe some outside the court stuff to get the TV going, more content for just people to watch and consume. I'm excited about it. And I'm hoping that maybe not this year that teams might care so much about the regular season games that are the group play games. They might just play them like normal games. But maybe a year or two down the line, those games feel almost playoff atmosphere like because teams are taking it more serious.
Right. And I wonder, like another thing, the reason I brought it up is because of your whole idea of when you were like, I want to see fourth quarters that matter. And I did like, because that's the biggest issue, I think, when it comes to very like a casual fan of basketball, especially like a very casual fan, someone that like maybe watches their home team once a week.
Yeah.
I feel like they have a hard time falling into the sport because every 4 out of 5 games feel like they almost don't matter, and it's hard to even you need a very hotly contested fourth, and you need the game to matter for everything to come together, and no stars taking breaks. Another thing that I'm really excited about coming into this year is I want to be at a basketball game. I feel like I always forget that these games are happening like right down the street. Like I live maybe 8 minutes out away from the TD Garden. That's really
nice.
close. So I can just shoot in there. And I was actually recently in Philly, and I saw the Wells Fargo. Yep, I saw Wells Fargo. Yep. And the other stadiums are right there. And then in the dead middle, you got like Xfinity Live. Yeah, that's a good time. That's the coolest setup I ever.
I love Philly Sports Complex. It's not to get into the weeds of Philly fandom, but the Sixers are considering and proposing ideas to the city of Philadelphia to move their stadium to right on like Broad Street, like right downtown Philly in Center City. A bunch of like the fans like me that love the way it's set up now are not looking forward to the idea of it because traffic's going to be like insane. It's going to be right in the heart of the city. I love the fact that it's like a sports complex off to its own, easy to get to.
Yeah, I don't know if people know that. It's beautiful. It's awesome.
It's
really
great.
Cool. For a fan, at least,
Yes, for a fan, and I see why the organization would want to do it because it's easier access to public transportation, meaning maybe more access to fans and stuff like. I get logistically the idea, but as a selfish fan, I'm like, please stay where you're at.
The awards, I guess that would be another thing that we could go to from here. I think that there's a couple awards that I think are. I don't know if I like talking about before the season starts. For me, that's the most clutch player. Like that's very year by year. I think even defensive player of the year for me, like it's rarely, unless there's like a Gobert in the league or a Dwight Howard or someone that's just running the award. It's usually kind of like a year by year thing. Like there'll be like 2 guys that emerge. Like Mobley kind of emerged last year. Smart when he won just kind of emerged. Like these guys just emerge, and even Jaren Jackson, I don't think people were like gonna have him as their number 1. Maybe he was top 5, but not number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are a little bit harder to like guess, because it could just be someone random. But I think something like Rookie of the Year, like we got a pretty decent idea of like who the 3 guys that are. MVP is another one. There's probably 5 guys that you could pick from. And most improved player is the opposite. It's so random that I love to pick. It's like there's no wrong answer there.
Yeah.
And then there's the NBA champion. So I say we go through with those 4 awards. Let's start with Rookie of the Year. What are your thoughts on that award?
So my Rookie of the Year, obviously you got Scoot, you got Wendy, you got Chet.
Yep.
I'm going with Victor Wembanyama, and the reason is. Weirdly enough, I think Chet's going to have a great year. I think Scoot's going to have a great year. I love what the Trailblazers were able to quickly do to legit build a team around Scoot like immediately. I don't know if they're going to be a play-in team, how successful they'll be, but there are pieces there that make sense on that roster with him.
Right.
Chet, in the same breath, he's going to fit on the OKC team beautifully. And not the only, but one of the main reasons for me, the nod is to Wemby. Because truthfully, I think it'll more so be a 2-man race between Wemby and Chet. I love Scoot, but I truthfully think it's going to be a 2-man race between those 2 guys. Wemby's going to be the number 1 option on this team, so he's going to get more looks. Chet, as much as I think they will try to get him involved in the offensive stuff, he's not going to be the number 1 option. That's Shea's team.
Mm-hmm.
Wemby, that team is now Wemby's. Like at least from what they've done in the preseason so far, that team is Wemby's. And every game so far, he's gotten the most shots, and I think that's intentional by design. he's going to have the opportunity to go. Like if he doesn't win it, it's going to be because he didn't play to his level of play. If he plays to the level he played so far in these first couple of preseason games, I think it's his.
For sure. I completely agree with pretty much everything you just said. I think I might pick Chet as of right now.
I like the pick. I'm not mad at it.
And the reason I picked Chet, there's two reasons. I literally agree with everything you just said, which sounds counterintuitive, but I think the second option on OKC is going to have more available to him than the first option on San Antonio. Because I think about last year with San Antonio, number one option was Keldon Johnson, and no one talks about Keldon Johnson. Obviously, he's not Wemby, but it's like the number one option can only do so much with not that much around him. I think Chet is in a position where Shea is going to take 30 of those points every game. So like his points per game probably won't be where Wemby's are at, but his efficiency might be so good, and the defense that they desperately need on the inside with some height and some good length and Chet, I think he's got a chance to be a legitimate threat as the maybe second or third option behind Giddey as well.
Yeah.
But Giddey and Shea can both pass too.
Yes.
So that's another thing. Like, what's his Wemby has Vassell and Keldon Johnson, which no offense, they're not 10 assists a game guys. Like but Shea and Giddey can both get you 8 to 10 assists in any given night. So I think that they, as well as the teams are built for all three of these young guys, I think that Chet is the one that steps into the best situation so far. It's not a huge advantage again because the other guys have good situations too, but he has the best one and the best team. So he'll get a lot of eyes, and people are excited to look at the Thunder. I think it all is going to come together. Plus, the one extra year is huge.
I agree.
It's like the Ben Simmons thing. It's like, is he really
the Ben Simmons, the Blake Griffin? I completely agree. The one extra year means a lot.
Blake
Griffin was that too.
Oh my God. No way. I forgot about that. That was like a hidden memory in my mind. That was like when I first started watching hoops, like for real.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yes, he was. But yeah, that's I think that matters. So in a really tight race with the other two as well, I think Scoot's awesome. And the only reason I wouldn't pick him is because Simons is going to take a lot.
Yeah.
I love Simons. If I didn't love Simons as much, maybe I'd be more for Scoot. But I'm going to go Chet. Honestly, in a little way to play devil's advocate, because I could totally see Wemby. I could 100% see that.
And I went back and forth with this for a while, and everything that you said about Chet came to mind. And I even thought, well, it might be Chet because the Thunder are going to have a better record. Like they should have a better record. I believe the Thunder, at the very least, will be a play-in team. But then I went back and forth, like, well, it's rookie of the year. They might like take some of that away from him because he's on a good team. I'm curious to see how the voters, or how the season plays out, and how the voters look at those two guys.
Yeah, I just want to vote. I think I should get a vote. Honestly, I want to vote, or I want the YouTube media to get a vote together. Kenny Beecham. Let all those guys vote. Let them vote because they are better than these other guys. I think.
I don't think we're far from that.
I don't think so
we're far from where Kenny Beecham has a vote. I don't think we're far from
Kenny
that.
Kenny was on Stephen A's podcast. Like he's like a real analyst now, which is so funny because I grew up watching him play 2K. So it's just like but he's a real analyst, and I'm sure like if Chris Smoot felt like doing it, he could too. Like some of these other guys that played basketball video games are now actual analysts out there, which is hilarious. It's the direction of the world, I guess. But on to the other awards. Let's go to MVP next. Who is your MVP choice? Obviously, Embiid just won, so congrats for you guys. I know you guys are probably pumped about that. But who's your pick for this year?
My pick for this year is Nikola Jokic. I think it was a neck and neck run for most of the year with him and Embiid last year. I think the reason that Embiid ended up winning is because in around like March, late February, April-ish, I won't say the Nuggets fell off, but they were losing games that they shouldn't have. I think Jokic maybe took his foot off the gas a little bit, which turned out to be the right idea because he went full throttle in the playoffs. Like it makes sense. And there was this, do we want to give him 3 in a row? Like, is he Bird? Like, I think those were a lot of the thoughts and voters and people's minds and a lot of the conversation, which could lead to why Embiid's win was controversial. But now all that's out the window. It won't be the 3rd in a row. He's off of a championship year. And all the reason I think it could be Jokic, because I don't think he's going to take a step back in his game. Like he's still going to be Jokic. He might not try as hard because maybe he doesn't feel like he has something to prove. But even without him having something to prove, if you ask me, he's like the best player on the planet. Like there's nothing he can't do on the court. And every other team, not every other, but a lot of the teams, like when I think of like Giannis as a candidate, well, they might give him a knock because he had a Dame. Right. Teams don't like, voters don't like that type of stuff. You think of Joel maybe being back in the conversation. It's true. I don't know what that Sixers team's going to look like if James Harden's not there. He might not have it might not be the same. You're thinking maybe either like Jason Tatum was in the running. Well, that team added new pieces too.
Yeah.
Luka, people love to throw his name in there. You got to win at least a certain amount of games to be there, and it's still question mark. So the Nuggets didn't really do anything to add to their team, so they still have their core. So if they're at the top of the Western Conference, which I think they will be again, it's going to be because of Nikola Jokic. I don't see why he couldn't go out and win another MVP.
The math all makes complete sense. And 90% of me is with you. But I think if I'm going to get an MVP wearing a green jersey, I think this is the year. I think Tatum
I would agree with that.
Go do it this year, actually. And I haven't felt that way about him. And I've never been a huge Tatum guy, like being a Celtics fan, which is funny to say. I've just never been huge on. Like, it's just this past year and a half, I really like, all right, this is our guy. This is my, like, he's my guy right now. And I think with the pieces around him, I know there's a lot of them that it can take a lot of points away, take a lot of things away. But I think I'm going to hinder it on one thing. It's Jokic is my pick, unless Tatum is starting at the 4. If Tatum is our second tallest player on the court, in the starting lineup, I think that's gigantic. Because I've seen this kid rebound. He can go get 10. He can go get 10 plus a game.
I don't disagree with that.
Porzingis out in the 3-point line, he don't rebound. No one rebounds. It's just going to be him in there for like at least 30 minutes of the game. I think that is way bigger than people realize. If Tatum is averaging a double-double next to the name Jay Tatum, people are going to be like, what the hell? And I think that alone, the optics of that will just scare people into being like, yeah, he totally is MVP. Look at his numbers. He's averaging a double-double. Tatum of all people. Because last year in the playoffs, his numbers went up with the rebounding when he needed to. And I've seen him get rebounds. He's a monster at it. He's a big dude. And I think if we play him at the 4, it frees him up with a more fast-paced and open offense. I think the turnovers will go down. The rebounds will go up. The assists will go up, even if the points go down. So that's if he starts at the 4, that's my pick. I'm watching game 1 to see what they do, and I'm going to DraftKings right after. And I'm putting money on whoever the deal is. If he's at the 3, put money on Jokic. If he's at the 4, I'm putting money on Tatum.
I'm not mad at that at all. Yeah,
I just see the rebound. The rebounding is the key for me. I need to see it, but still, yeah. Now, most improved player. I did not put this on any.
I have somebody though.
But you have somebody. Awesome.
Yes.
Right. Hit me with your guy.
Might be a stretch, and it's maybe looked at as more of a dark horse. I think Obi Toppin can get in MIP conversations, mainly because he's with Indiana now. He's with a super dynamic point. He's going to be in the starting lineup, so he's got just more opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic point guard and Tyrese Halliburton. The ability to play alongside a big who can also stretch the floor. Miles Turner. Miles Turner was like career high from 3 last season. That's like 37%. So like still on 8 attempts. Yeah. It was crazy. Like 5 attempts, 38%, I think. Obi can shoot like league average. And if he can, the way he's played in New York and the way I see him could potentially play with the Pacers this season, I think he can have a Aaron Gordon type game. Whereas you're getting to the basket, knocking out open shots, if he buys into it, taking some defensive assignments and guarding some bigger wings on the perimeter. It's a stretch and it's a dark horse. I'll admit that. I know it is.
Yeah.
But I just think with the new opportunities he's going to have there and with the team that's there around him, with the floor spacing that's going to be there to hit him on open cuts, if he cuts, Tyrese will find him. And that's what's beautiful about that. I think he has the opportunity to be MIP.
No, that's a niche pick because no one cares about Indiana.
It is
so
a
that's
niche pick.
So that's a good pick because like no one's gonna want to pick that. That's probably a good bet for you bettors out there. I think it's a good bet for you. I definitely have a couple of guys that are in that vein. The guy I end up thinking of, it's kind of boring, but I think Tyrese Maxey actually. From what I feel about him as a player and what I felt about him out of the draft, it was a steal out of the draft. And I just have seen him grow crazy. And I think with Harden out of the way, and because that's what I think he is at this point, is in Tyrese's way. Wow, in the preseason game we played against you guys, he was lighting it up. And I was like, and he's always had that ability, and he had good stats last year. But I think if he can make a leap to an all-star, and if Harden's gone, especially, then I think that he's definitely the type of guy to go get an MIP. Some of the other guys I was thinking about was like Jordan. Anybody on the Wizards has a chance to win it this year because opportunity is ample. I always have liked Devin Vassell. I hope that he gets a little bit more space with Wemby there. And then who's the last guy? I saw someone on TikTok talk about this guy, Jalen Johnson for the Hawks. Really talk about niche with a couple of with John Collins gone and with the new coaching, they thought that he would be an interesting pick, and that's been stuck in the back of my mind. So now I'll be looking at some more Hawks games more intently at that 4 spot, see what they're working with, how he can play. But yeah, then let's get on to the last part. NBA champions for the 2023-24 season.
So I'll tell you my finals matchup first. I think it's going to be it's going to be your Celtics, and I think it's going to be the Nuggets. Nuggets for all the things I just said about Jokic earlier. The Celtics can be in the finals to me. I think in the main conversation when you say that is like, well, why not the Bucks? The main thing holding the Bucks back for me is new coach, new head coach, high stakes. He just has to figure it out. And not only is it a new head coach to the system, it's a first-time head coach. Love Adrian Griffin. I know he has a ton of coaching experience and being the lead assistant for teams that have won championships, teams that have made deep playoff runs. I know he knows what he's doing, but it's just when you're a new coach and when it's your job to when it's your responsibility to be the one to make the decisions, things can sometimes go left. Celtics saw some of those moments with Joe Mazzulla last year, where it was moments where it was like, why didn't he call this timeout and stuff like it was? He actually had I don't know if you've seen it, but he had a really good interview with JJ Redick a couple weeks ago, and he addressed I was known as the coach who doesn't call timeouts, and I liked his logic. And if that logic applies to, which was, if you haven't seen it, his logic was for the viewers. He's the type of coach who believes in his system, and when he sets the system in place, he trusts his guys to implement what they've been working on. But now they've been working on it for an extra year, and I just think the addition of Jrue, I'm really high on the addition of Kristaps Porzingis. I think the Celtics can go to the finals, but my pick, just because I could be a prisoner at the moment, but I love the way they play basketball. I think the Nuggets can go back to back.
Right. How do you beat that team? You know, like how do you beat being a basketball guy? I'm very schematic. I've studied the schematics of basketball like my whole life, and thinking about it, it feels like hell. Like I feel like I'm growing a tumor when I'm thinking about how do you defend Jamal Murray in the playoffs and Nikola Jokic with the guys they have around him? Like with Aaron Gordon was the perfect. I liked how you brought him up earlier.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
Perfect guy for that role, and I never would have seen him as that when he was in Orlando. Yeah, and then he kind of gets there, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. He's the perfect guy, and there's plenty of guys in the roster like that. Even like Christian Braun.
I don't know how he pronounces his last name.
I don't know either, but he looks really good too. And they just made good draft picks. They're talking really highly about Peyton Watson, who I liked out of the draft a few years back. Good frame, 6'7", defends, and he's smart. It's just like how do you beat them? You know, like I don't see the path. I don't think that this switch-heavy Celtics is like he doesn't even matter. They'll just take a fade. Like they don't even care. Like,
and that's the crazy thing about the Nuggets and specifically Jokic is it doesn't matter who you put on him. Like that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you go a switch scheme, the guy is probably too small. If you throw a bigger guy on him, he doesn't look it, but he'll get by him. Like his footwork is amazing. Yeah. He has the Nuggets ran a couple of reverse pick and rolls between Jamal Murray and Jokic in the preseason this year. Mm-hmm. So like in the last couple of games, and I'm just watching and I'm like, what other teams can run where your point guard is setting the screen for the center and the center is the ball handler and the center makes the right pass out of makes the right read out of that. Like, I don't know how you guard that.
I don't know if you can. And it's a great point. I think that they're just going to someone's going to have to find them out or they're going to have to get beat on the way. Because Like, I mean, I don't see the Celtics being able to like outdo that team. My Celtics, I know them very well. They don't fare well against great teams. They're good against like players, and they're good
That's a good
against,
point.
they're really good against play. Like, think about Embiid in the playoffs.
Yes,
Like,
that's what I'm thinking of. That's
you
a good
know,
point.
and a
Yes.
couple years back, like the Brooklyn Nets, when we swept them, kind of like surprisingly, like we are good against,
Yeah.
because all they were players, was Durant and Kyrie and whatever, and we beat them. Like, we can take players out, but the Heat beat us.
Yeah.
And they love to
because
beat
they
us
play team ball.
because they're a team, and they're not even that good of a team. They just play such good team ball. They're so annoying. They're so annoying. It's so frustrating. And then the Nuggets are like that on juice. Like, they're actually like a skilled version of that team ball. And man, I don't know if we'd have that in our bag. It's a new team though, so maybe I hope we do. I hope we do. My pick, I guess. I've thought about it a lot, and I did this last year too, and it just feels like a stupid pick. I like the Warriors this year. I do. And I don't know why. I think Chris Paul is such an interesting addition for them.
It is.
Their team is still good. Like, it's the same guys.
They are.
I think the more it's like Clay's only gotten better with time with his recovery. I think people are starting to think he's getting old, which maybe he is, but he's still getting better than he was last year,
Yes.
because he's coming back from injury. And then Steph's still that guy. And Draymond's interesting, but Kuminga is coming.
He's looked great in preseason. He's looked really good in preseason.
He's the reason I'm so scared. He's coming. And then you got Chris Paul. Like, he's not even that good anymore, but like, I know he can orchestrate better than anybody in the league. And when it comes to pacing the second unit, I thought that he's going to be the perfect addition to what they needed. They needed good offense without Curry on the floor, and they just added it. And we'll see if he can stay where he's at. If Chris Paul sucks, take it out the window, and I'm going Celtics all the way. But I really think that the Warriors can come back. They only won 2 years ago. It was just 2 years ago.
I think people forget that. I do think people forget that.
It happens all the time. It's like the guy that won 2 years ago, no one cares about anymore. Even the Bucks, like, they won 3 years ago, right? Is that?
Oh, yeah. That's 3 years ago. They won the year before the Warriors did, yeah. Yeah,
so, like, and people, I feel like forget that entirely. It's just we're such prisoners of the moment. But, so, yeah, I'm going, every pick I've done the soft pick and then my real pick in the background. Soft pick is the Warriors. My real pick is going to be my Celtics, just because, I guess, let's get into that. The Jrue Holiday, Dame Lillard.
I love this for you guys.
It's the craziest. It's been the craziest offseason for a team that's this good in my life. I'm freaking out.
It really has. The Celtics, the way they orchestrated their offseason was beautiful to me. I was already high on you guys when you guys added Kristaps Porzingis. I thought losing Marcus Smart was going to hurt at the time, and I'm like, oh, you're going to miss him and stuff. When the trade first came through and it was supposed to be Malcolm Brogdon, I was like, oh, watch out. If they can keep Marcus Smart and add KP and just get rid of Brogdon. And then when you guys added Jrue, it replaced what you were missing in Marcus Smart. And if anything, for me, I love Smart, but to me, Drew's an upgrade from him. Yeah. I like Jrue offensively a little bit better. To me, he will make, I think, better decisions in late game decisions. There was a couple of games for the guys, the Boston Celtics, where in the playoffs and in the regular season, where for some reason Marcus Smart had the ball. I don't know if it was by design or Smart just is that confident in his ability that it was times when he had the ball where I didn't think he should have the ball. Jrue won't assume that role and won't try to take that over. And Drew's just as, if not a better defender than Smart. I think you'll miss some of the switchability with Smart, being able to, you look up at Smart's randomly guarding the 4 and you're not really worried about it.
Yeah.
But I love the addition of Jrue for you guys. It was especially because it was something that I didn't see coming. Like, I did not think you guys were going to get Jrue Holiday at all. Honestly, I was hoping my Sixers were going to get him, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. That would have been great, I think, for you guys for sure. You guys could use some defense up at the perimeter, but
and then on the flip side, and then on the flip for the Bucks, adding Dame is going to be scary. I know I feel like I downplayed it a little bit when I said the Celtics are my team to make it to the finals. Dame and Giannis are going to be scary. Like that is going to be a pick and roll that is unstoppable. We talked about Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic's pick and roll because of the versatility of it, just in terms of how efficient a Dame and Giannis pick and roll can be. I'm scared to see what it can look like.
Yeah.
Mainly because of how far Dame can shoot efficiently. Random stat, but Dame for over threes that were over 30 feet, Dame led the league last year in threes made over 30 feet. Imagine a pick and roll with Dame and Giannis 32 feet from the rim. Like, how do you guard that? You don't.
You can't.
You either give up the long three to Dame, or Giannis is playing 3-on-2, 4-on-5, barreling to the basket. Like, there's the way that team can run. Exactly. The way that team can operate is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's going to be phenomenal.
The pick and rolls all over the place. So, like, we better learn how to defend it, because even if Harden stays with you guys for whatever's happening with that, that Harden
our pick and roll is good too.
That Harden and pick and roll to me is still the best one that's in the league, honestly. Because and especially when Harden's finishing, I know his finishing's been a little sketchy. But when he's finishing, like especially in that like close shot range, not layup, not mid range, the close with the floater, when he's hitting those, dude, there is nothing that you can do. Like, at least, like, you know, it's kind of like a stupid comment, but like, you know, Jokic, it's like you can be like, all right, he's slow. If we do something, we can maybe hustle back to him, and then you have something, and then you can say, all right, well, Giannis, we want him to shoot threes, so maybe we can drop and just really fight through the screen or trap it, and then we can get back to him because we don't have to worry about the 3-point shot. With Embiid and Harden, there actually is zero. There is no weakness. There's nothing. Because especially when Harden's just doing what he's supposed to do, because he's one of the best passers out of the pick and roll that I've seen in the past decade. He can hit step back threes. So as soon as he gets a guy coming downhill next to him, he step back,
stop at a dime and take it back. Yep.
And then you can't leave Embiid open for a fade or a roll or a post touch. You can't let him get any of those three things because he's perfect. And then and Harden can also pass to like other guys too. So if you do collapse it, Harden's good at getting around. That's why he led the league in assists last year. So that's still the scariest pick and roll. It's just now but it's just Lillard and Giannis on one court sounds like a fake movie to me.
It does.
It's like,
and I think I'm most excited for Dame. He talked about this in one of his, I don't remember which presser it was, but he said all his shots throughout his career have been off the dribble, you know, avoiding the double team, step back. Like, they've been tougher shots because he's been by far the best player on the court his whole career. Well, maybe not his whole career, first couple of years with Marcus Aldridge, but for the prime of his career, he's been the best player in the court. And I tuned into their first preseason game. I enjoyed watching it. I didn't feel like I got a real idea of what that's fully going to look like. But I'm curious to see how much room Dame has to operate with. Now teams have to worry about another play, like legitimately have to worry about another player on the court.
Yeah, I have a weird feeling about Dame this year in terms of his efficiency. I know that he'll be more open, but I have a weird feeling that it's not necessarily going to be a huge benefit. I feel like he's one of those guys that thrives off of that.
He needs a tough shot.
He needs a tough shot. He needs to hit a couple of them. Like, think about his best games. He's getting, like, I remember in the bubble, first time I'd ever seen this in my life, he was getting double teamed full court because that was your only option. And I think he kind of thrived in that role of being like, there's no one that can stop me on the planet right now. Like, I can get by 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. I can take a shot from 40 feet out if you want. I can go all the way in, whatever it takes. And I do think, because I know guys that play like this, like when I play basketball, you know, those guys that like being contested, and and like when the game's higher pace and, you know, more like intense, like they just hit the more intense shots. I know guys like this, and I'm wondering if Dame is going to be almost like, especially in the beginning of the season, will he be like taken aback by like, wow, I'm taking a catch and shoot open three, like not moving? Like, what is like
what's that rhythm like for him? That's not his normal shot. Yeah,
it's like a little strange. So I think I could see early season struggles just because of fit, like, you know, the new coach, everything's coming together. who's going to be the emerging bench pieces to like really solidify the team? Is it Beasley and Crowder? Can they defend still? Who knows? And then Dame, I could really see, especially in the beginning of the season. I think he'll figure it out because he's the best perimeter threat outside of Curry that's in the league right now. But it's just I could see like a weird struggle of like I'm too open. Like I'm too open right now. There's not enough pressure on me. Like I can just give it to him, So that'll be interesting. That'll definitely be interesting. And so you also said that you were very interested in the Porzingis addition to the Celtics. Why does that light the tree in your head?
So what it does for me is it brings a wrinkle to the Celtics that I don't feel like they've had. I love Al Horford. I love Rob Williams. I love Grant Williams. I think you guys had a really good front court trio for the last couple of seasons. But what he does is, and while, yes, Grant and Al can stretch the floor a little bit, Porzingis just had such a good season last year with the Wizards. Like, if you ask me, he had a career year with the Wizards last year, defensively and offensively. The ability to shoot, the ability to put the ball on the floor a little bit. I'm not asking him to do a whole lot, but if it's like a pump fake and go, he can do that.
Especially in this offense.
Correct. Especially in this offense with this spacing. The new wrinkle for the Celtics to have someone who, it doesn't have to be all the time. It might only be like once a quarter just to keep him in rhythm, but have somebody you can legitimately give the ball to in the post. Because I've seen the Celtics say, here's the ball, Al Horford, figure something out. And when I watch it, I'm like, okay, what is Al Horford going to do with the ball in the post? So I know Joe Mazzulla likes to implement post touches because I've seen him give them to Al Horford. But now instead of giving those touches to Al, those touches are going to Porzingis. So it actually is a viable option offensively that the defense, depending on who the defender is, might need to have to double team and he can pass out of that. His ability to pass in like the short roll, like he has that ability to catch on the roll, catch it at like free throw line, right at the top of the key in the paint and hit the corners, hit a cutter, cutting back door. He just adds more dynamic to your front court that I don't think you guys had in the past.
For sure. I think just like having another truly scoring piece is going to be interesting. Like, Jalen and Jason were the only like real scorers. Everyone else could score when they were open, but no one was really like a scorer on this team.
It could create. I get that.
And it could create. I think Pritchard being able to play helps because I think he can create his own shot too in a weird way. He's a funny player. I hope he gets.
He's looked good.
He should get a lot.
He's looked confident. He's looked confident, and I like that for him.
Yeah, he's got a ton of confidence. So he's been great. So hopefully he's got it because he has to play because we only have 6 guys otherwise. So he has to play. God forbid someone gets hurt. That's been my thing. If someone gets hurt, we need more depth anyway. So if anyone gets hurt on top of this lack of depth, especially at like the forward and the big position, like we have no one that I'm confident in playing over 6'7" off of our bench. Like
I get that.
Unless you bring off Al, and then you just need to get yourself a wing, and then I think you can make it work with Pritchard, Al, and then a wing off the bench. Like I think you can make that work. But man, we're thin. We are thin beyond after that 6 guys, and that's my issue. Anyway, but this is kind of leads me to my next thing. We did get a little bit into the Sixers, but we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna make you the GM of a roster. Of maybe we'll do 2 rosters, and then if I can get to a third, we will. But right now, I want you to be the GM of the 76ers. The toughest job in America, if you ask me right now, because the Harden situation is absolutely insane. For anyone that doesn't know, he can't sit out technically if he want. There's like this huge contract issue that I don't know too much about, but I know that like he's either got to go or he has to play begrudgingly, or else like he basically will be put into a limbo, like NBA limbo.
Yes,
because you guys don't have to pay him, but he can't. But he can't go anywhere else.
Correct. That is literally it. He can't even. Okay. Yes, he can't even sign. Like the rule is so interesting that he can't even sign overseas. Like he couldn't play professional. If he decides to sit out for the Sixers and not play, he cannot play professional basketball without the Sixers' approval. Like they would have to approve him signing to a different team or approve him playing, or they can just keep him in limbo in perpetuity, which is an insane rule.
Dude, he might be done with hoop. But so let's make you the GM of the 76ers with that rule in mind. Where are you looking to maybe trade Harden? What are some of the pieces you're looking to get? Maybe not specific guys because I know that can be tough, but off the top of your head, but like, what are some things you want to see added if you're losing a Harden, and then maybe other pieces as well? What are some other pieces you'd like dealt? I don't know what your feelings on Toby are or any of these
Yeah.
guys. Like, what are your thoughts?
So the funny part is, my honest opinion, if I'm the GM, my hope is James Harden will play for us, because his problem isn't with the players on the Sixers. His problem is with Daryl Morey. It was interesting over the last couple of days when James Harden finally showed up to training camp and was involved in a couple of practices. He hasn't been involved in every practice, and he hasn't traveled with the team to any of these games. But some of the feedback, like I've heard Tobias talk about it, I've heard Maxey talk about it. They said he's been engaged. They said, like, Maxey talked about him talking to rookies and giving advice to rookies. Like, he looks like an engaged player would during preseason and training camp. So in a perfect world, I think the Sixers' best chance, and I got to use the words chance, because if I'm being honest myself, I don't think as constructed looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference, we're true contenders. I think anything is possible, and if luck's on our side, it's possible, but our best chance is with Harden on the team. Now, if you have to trade Harden, what I would be looking for is I would trust Maxey to run our offense and to be our starting point guard. Truthfully, I don't know if it's because I fully believe in the idea, but I think the alternative of trading or trying to trade for a point guard would be worse than just keeping Maxey as our point guard.
Completely.
So if Harden is on the trading block and he does get traded, the pieces I would be looking to get is wing depth and potentially backup big depth. We picked up Mo Bamba. We still have Montrezl Harrell on the team. I don't love our backup big situation. I haven't loved our backup big situation in a while.
Right.
The problem when it comes to trading James Harden, and I've been racking my brain about this for the longest of times. I'm always reading articles and trying to look up mock trades. Truthfully, I haven't seen a trade that I truly like. Every trade for James Harden, at least so far, because we missed out on Dame, we missed out on Jrue, we missed out on the names. The guys that are left on the market are rotation guys. And they're not bad rotation guys, but they're not, to me at least, needle moving rotation guys. And so for me, if I'm the GM, I think a lot of Sixers fans, when I talk to other Sixers fans, they want to move Tobias, but that's like a next year thing. They want to move Harden, and they say, oh, we can get some draft picks and we'll have all this money next summer. But if I'm the GM now, I'm thinking to myself, Joel's 29. He's getting older. Not getting older, but like he's not 26 anymore.
Right.
And you have to realize, I think, if I was the GM, I would realize that a player like Joel doesn't just come along in the next draft. Like, when you have to realize when you have generationally talented players to just go for it. Like, if you get egg on your face at the end, I mean, sure, that's what happens, but it's a risk. But winning championships, you have to be willing to take that risk. Yep. So my risk is, truthfully, make James Harden play, because that's the best option for us to win a championship.
Right. Even if he's being, hardened about it, even whatever.
The only hope I would have is the only reason, and the only hope, and the only reason I don't think he would do that. And it could be optimistic hope, and every fan has a little bit of optimistic hope, and sometimes I let that bleed in. I try to not let it bleed in, but sometimes it does.
Right.
But trying to be objective, the only reason I don't think he would, be James Harden throwing the fat suit is because he's a free agent this summer. And so because he has to prove to play the other teams, I am still James Harden. So whatever that I'm still James Harden is, he has to prove that, because if you put on the fat suit and you play nonchalantly all year, you already didn't get the contract that you thought you were going to get. Mm-hmm. Like, you thought you were going to go to Houston. Houston said, we don't want you. You thought the Clippers were going to, give up so much for the trade for you because they wanted you so much. I think James Harden is maybe also realizing, unless I prove people wrong, the market for me, the market isn't there for me to get the contract that I think I deserve. Mm-hmm. So I have to prove people wrong to get that contract. And if in the process of proving people wrong, he plays great for my Sixers, I'm happy.
Do you think that if Daryl Morey walked up to him today, not saying that you guys would want this or whatever, if he offered him a max deal, right now, like a 3-year extension with max deal, whatever that means. Do you think he'd like just take it and just drop everything else because like they'd be
I
up to
think he
their
would have.
word? That's so
I
funny.
think I think he would. I think it's he wants the money.
Yeah,
And
which like
most people,
you can't pocket watch. Like who knows? Maybe he wants
you
his
know,
money. He wants his money.
exactly.
He wants his
We don't know
money.
how much he spent in those clubs in Miami and Houston. We don't know what his money looks like. We don't know. And I think most Sixers fans honestly would be in an uproar, say it's the dumbest idea in the world. But and no one has an answer for me because it's the to me, the pieces aren't there. What's the alternative if you actually are trying to win a championship?
Right, right.
What's the alternative?
It's true. I think that you're the only way that this could possibly work out is if you get to the All-Star break. He's playing some games. Definitely every injury he's sitting out, but he's playing some games, and you get there, and there's another team out there that's like that has a guy that's like I don't want to be here anymore. And then with that, you can maybe say, hey, LA, take Harden, send every pick you have to this team. We'll send every pick we have to this team, and we'll send them Toby. You send them all your bench players, and then you can go get. I don't even know. I feel like everyone moves that wants to move at this point, but
yes, but I get what you're saying. If Harden, I agree with that. If Harden gets moved in a way that makes sense of trying to win a championship, it has to be at the deadline. Like he has to play. He's going to start the season as a Sixer. Because whatever trade that happens now was like Terrence Mann, Nicholas Batum, and some picks. Like what is that?
That's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible trade. I think honestly, you need to get is Plumlee on that team? Mason Plumlee? Like you take,
I think he's their backup.
You take Plumlee. I mean,
that's
back.
A good backup. I would like.
That's what I'm saying. You take a Plumlee back. You take like Norm Powell still there. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
You could take some of these guys, and I don't know, have them trade a pick somewhere and take Brogdon from
Brogdon was a name I thought that was interesting from the Trailblazers. If we can get them involved, I would like to add him to the team.
And then you could, I don't know, like that's because, but otherwise, like, why would you do that? Because even Harden at that point is better. So that's good GMing. Just stay patient.
That's what I'm saying. Even Harden is better. I agree.
GM Hawk doing the right thing. I see what you're saying. Everyone gets caught in the moment, but you can't do it. All right, GM Hawk. We're gonna ask you one more team. I would do the Celtics, but there's not money moves we need to make. It's just
you guys are just
add a guy or two on the bench or mint. But I'll say the San Antonio Spurs. You got. Let's do a little bit of a longer term plan with this one. Imagine because now we got to think about Wemby's timeline, not just Embiid's timeline. That's definitely more present. But Wemby's like you have to look ahead for Wemby. What pieces are you looking to surround him with? What are some guys you're targeting? That maybe are impending free agents or things like that. What are some schemes you're looking to get him in as a coach GM type of guy? What are you looking to do with
that's interesting, and I like that question. I don't know if I have names off the top of my head,
no need.
But I would say, from at least what I've seen from the Spurs so far in Wemby, I kind of like Trey Jones a little bit, at least to see how he continues to develop and Devin Vassell and them. I would like to see an upgrade from Zach Collins. Because I don't know if you want Wemby to actually play the 5 long term. I think, honestly, he could play the 3, play the 4. Like, I think he could look like a very tall Kevin Durant, potentially. Totally. I would love to see an upgraded center. I like Zach, but I just think I would like Zach more if he's my backup and not my starting center.
For sure.
I think the biggest thing for the Spurs, though, is because the team is so young, I don't think they need to rush anything. And I think if I'm the Spurs, and that's why I say the only move I would immediately make, if like in a year or two, would potentially try to get a different big, because they're so young, and a lot of times we're going to put expectations on the player. It's just what we do as fans, as media. It's just what people do. I would hate for them we look up and Wemby's like 23, a couple years in, and it's like, oh, we need to put this team around him now. At that young of an age, I feel like you'd be pushing all your chips in too soon. And then we look up and now he's 20. And I'm not saying, but what I mean by that is a couple years from now, I'm not saying just keep being mediocre, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to look up and like, oh, we're trading away all our draft picks and we're moving and we look up and we don't have any draft picks for the next 8 years. Like, I don't think the Spurs need to go that direction.
Right. Kind of like the accelerated process in a way. Like,
yes.
You don't want to do it like too slow. Like, I feel like you guys may have waited a little too long on some things.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And
instead of, I feel like I'm catching myself, and I'm catching myself being not hypocritical, but my mind is literally playing devil's advocate with me, because I'm saying I don't think you need to move too fast. But then I look at a team like the Dallas Mavericks, and some people would argue they're not moving fast enough, and there's potential. Like, he hasn't said anything.
Yeah.
But there's so many rumblings that how happy is Luka in Dallas?
Yeah.
And Luka, in theory, is on that timeline of I just said about Victor, in 3-4 years into his career. Mm-hmm. How could, if Victor is who who people think Victor is going to be, we're looking at him being as good as Luka is right now. And I think he's in his 4th year, which is crazy to think about.
I know. I guess, well, then, you got to kind of take a new approach in a way, because it's not like this guy's Tatum or it's Embiid, where it's going to take 6 or 7 years to really become what they need to become. Like, this guy, he might be good in 2 years. Like, he might be championship good in 2 years, like Luka has been. Like, Luka's championship good. So I think your timeline, and guess in sense of years, might have been a little off, but I think your sentiment's still the same, because it's not like you just said the time, because we're so used to stars taking a long time, but really, like, you just thought of it in your own mind. Like, once you get to that point with Wemby, whenever that is in his career, it could be next year, could be 2 years, could be 5 years, 7 years. Then I think you're right. I think the patient approach with him, add pieces, slowly get better so that he has more to work with. You're slowly building confidence. You don't want to sell the house for a 19-year-old. That's kind of crazy. There's no need. But what do you do with a guy like Popovich?
So, funny enough, I think Popovich has got a resurgence. I want to say he just signed a 5-year deal with the Spurs. Like, this summer, he has the highest contract in the league. Yeah. I don't know if he stays past that 5-year deal, because Pop is getting older, and it is like we talk about, players talk about travel and how hard it is on them and their bodies as players. I don't know how old Pop is off the top of my head. I'd venture to say he's high 60s, low 70s.
Yeah, probably.
Just looking at him, I'd venture to say that. So all that travel also he's just a coach. He's sitting on the sideline. He was standing on the sideline. But when you're that older, like, that's stuff you got to think about. I would love to see Pop really buy into at least seeing how far Wemby can go. Mm-hmm. Because I think he's definitely going to play out that 5 years. And if Victor is on the Luka timeline and not the Joel timeline, we're going to see Popovich coach high-level basketball again with Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, that'd be so
And I think he's a good coach for it.
Yeah, so obviously for a short-term need, the center position, someone that can rebound the damn ball would be awesome. But what would be your perfect Robin archetype of player for Wemby's Batman? Are you looking for more of a guard? Are you looking for a dominant center? Are you looking for maybe like another wing that's just had like a smaller wing? What's like the perfect archetype to put next to him in your thoughts?
I'm looking for a playmaking guard, like a good playmaking guard. Yeah. I don't think the center has to be dominant. It's not possible to get him, I don't think, but the type of center that comes to mind immediately is Zubac from the Clippers or Steven Adams for the Grizzlies. Like a guy who is like a bruiser inside. Like, he's solid. He's going to rebound well. You don't really need him to stretch the floor, because Victor can stretch the floor and everybody else on the floor is going to be able to stretch the floor. Uh-huh. But a good wingman, like a good Robin for Victor would be a playmaking point guard, mainly because while Victor has the ability to put the ball on the floor and make decisions with the ball and play make for others, I don't think, at least from what I've seen so far, that him doing that 100% of the time or majority of the time is the best use for him. Like, I like him being able to catch the ball in the mid post, catch the ball on the wing, and then decide his move. I don't like the idea of Victor being your primary ball handler. So getting a ball handler who can set the table for others is what I think is going to be good for them.
Like a Tyrese Halliburton type of guy.
I was just about to say, if Tyrese Halliburton could be on the Spurs, I think that would be her. I was just about to say his name.
He'd be going from like boring franchise to boring franchise, Kings to Pacers to Spurs. like
Oh
boring career
man.
to have. That's such
Yeah,
those
it
three like
is.
so boring cities. All right, another game I wanted to play was gonna be the hoop grid. Was today's hoop grid. I don't know. Do you do the hoop grid ever? Have you seen the
When
hoop
they
grid?
when they first dropped, I did a bunch. I haven't done them in a while, so I might be a little rusty. But when they first dropped, I did a ton.
Oh yeah, okay, that works. Um, yeah. All right, here we go. So this is like when you put Pau Gasol. I think maybe because Pau Gasol is a little bit older, or he might
Ah,
have a little bit of a like Marc Gasol was more present for like people nowadays.
yeah.
Gasol, he's actually 4% higher. Um,
Interesting.
I mean, I'm trying to think of other guys that are
Like,
very recent. What else could we think of? Should we move on? Are we this bad?
we might be, but we can move on. It's okay. It's okay for this bad. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
This is why my preference in the beginning was I'm just a fan who really loves hoop, you know?
Yeah, we love watching games, we love to watch the games. I see guys get crazy scores on this stuff.
Oh my
Like
gosh, I've seen some wild scores. I've seen some
uh
wild scores.
and then we got the Grizzlies is what's throwing me off. Grizzlies Clippers. Like what who I'm having a hard time thinking of like any Grizzlies player in general. Like who was on that team in like 2017? You know?
That is an excellent question because they weren't that great in 2017. So
That's
I
what I'm
can't tell
saying.
you
Like
who was on that
who
team in
was even
2017.
who was on that team in 2017? I mean, I just want to try Tony
Why do
Allen
I?
because he's just that guy. I know he wasn't on the Clippers at all, but
Did Bradley used to play for the Clippers? Avery Bradley?
I think yeah. Actually, that's a good pull. That's a good pull.
I was like, I want to say I remember Avery Bradley being on both these
Dang,
teams.
Avery was my guy too. I should have known that. Avery was a Celtic before it all. He's
All
my
right, there we
guy.
go. There we go.
Good pull.
2%. That's a good one. That's a good
That's
one.
that's a good pull. What are the odds Rudy Gay's played an 82 game season? Oh, okay. See this
Okay.
one, like you just gotta guess. Like there's no way
Yeah,
around it. You gotta just think of
82 games. You
odd
know who might
guys.
be oddly enough?
Who?
Well, I'm just curious at this point. I feel like Marc Gasol would be a guy to play 82 games. I know
Yeah, he
we already have him, but he strikes me as a guy to play 82.
actually yeah, let me put Powell here anyway, because Powell's a better rarity score. So and then we'll put Mark Gasol. Let's see, what did he ever play 82? He did. He
He
did. And
did.
that's actually
See,
pretty we're
he's
bronze.
you know,
We have a score here. That's not bad. I'm trying to think. Did Zach Randolph ever do it? Never did it. That poor guy. 16
yeah,
seasons in the
no.
NBA. Never was able to do
Bags.
that. That's so crazy. What else do we got? All right, let's leave that be for now. If we need to go back to these, we can. Lakers, Rockets. My first thought is
Did
Ariza.
Yep, that thought came to mind. That's a
Uh,
good one.
he definitely,
Aaron Brooks wasn't a Laker, right? He was well, not. I don't
I
think he
don't
was a
know.
Laker.
I know he played in China for a long time. No, he didn't.
Not a
I
Laker.
think
All right.
of this is a bad one because everyone's gonna know this one, but Dwight Howard is another thought of mine.
It's
Better
just
than
about there
Ariza.
were yeah, it was better than Ariza.
All right, let's see what Rockets and Clippers. There's a lot of crossover here. Like obviously the first one I can think of just to get someone on the board. Oh, there he was. Chris Paul. There's probably more. There's definitely more. I can like see it in my eyes. I can. There was trades. That happened.
Oh, Pat Bev.
Pat
He might be
Bev.
high. I don't
Pat
know how high
Pat.
he's going to be.
No, that might be good because people don't know about his
Oh, okay.
Rockets days. And you know what I'm thinking? What about Russell Westbrook?
Oh, that might be good too.
Wait, no, not
Oh,
nearly as good as
I
Patrick.
got excited.
I know. I thought it was gonna be a silver as well. Patrick Beverly is a good pull because he was on the Rockets early.
Yeah,
He was on the
yeah.
Rockets early. He injured Russell Westbrook.
I know. That's why I know.
How about a Rocket that played 82 games?
If I had to guess one, I'm thinking Ariza might have.
You think Ariza has? He probably has actually. Yeah, he has. Yes, he
Ooh.
has. Yeah, you're cooking.
Some guys just get. I'm just used to them playing all the time. Like certain
Yeah.
guys, you're just used to them playing all the time.
How about
This is the tough
for
one.
this one? I know this guy played so many games in a row.
Hey,
AC
there you
Green.
go. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
He's the Iron Man. He played every damn game. That's the thing with the
Yeah.
80s though. Like, you could really pull out a lot of the guys played all the games. Like, I bet you could find a ton of players that played every game. He's
Yep.
better. You could do. I wonder if like even the really good play. I know these guys
See,
all played.
4.7. Yeah,
They
they
played back
played.
in the day, so that's the thing.
That's why their careers were short, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like Bird played 10 years and he's like, my back.
Exactly.
It's like my back, dude.
Hey,
That's
Bird, load
crazy.
manage.
Yeah, come on, brother. Come on, figure it out. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that like would be like a
Could
diamond to
beat
make
that.
make the board look a little cooler.
80s diamond, 82 games.
Moses Malone. I picked him up because
Wow.
he was like a 70s guy. I think people think of him
Yes.
more 70s, but he did play in the 80s, but he had 82 game seasons in the 70s.
Wow.
So that was kind of one of those types of picks.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Fun
so
fact,
we have
I
a
think that's my
diamond.
first diamond ever.
Nice. This is a tough board, though. This is a tough board. All right, 80s. Did Bob McAdoo? Was this his team?
I think that's his team.
All right.
Yep, cool. I was about to say I think that's his team.
Sick.
But they were. I'm trying to remember. I keep still trying to remember what city they were in because it was not LA.
Where did the Clippers play before LA?
Buffalo Braves. There we go. I'm like,
San Diego Clippers too.
Oh, and then there's San Diego Clippers. Wow.
There's probably so many people that are like, yo, any Clipper from the 80s and you don't know them. To see the 80s Lakers.
Oh, hey, Lakers.
I should have this clapped. I mean, like, obviously you could go with like the big guys. I'm gonna start with maybe Rambus.
I'm about to say that actually might be a pretty high number.
I forgot that it ended.
Oh yeah, locked it in.
That's silly. That's a silly. HoopGrids are so much fun, and I think that'd be good content. It
is. I watch other people, so I know it's good content. Like, yes. I enjoy it.
Speaking of content, I don't know what time is it right now. It's 7:45, so I don't know how much longer you want to be staying on this for. But
I'm as good as long as you're good. I got nothing to do.
Cool. So
I'm enjoying the conversation.
I know, me too. So I guess we'll start. We'll do two more things. We're gonna do the best places and the best personalities for basketball content.
Oh, okay.
And then we're just going to talk a little bit about what you're doing and what you plan to do going forward. But first, where other than Hawks Hoops, because Hawks Hoops is the place that you want to get your basketball news from. You come out with updates very fast. You're so well produced. You're well spoken. You know the sport. It's about as good as it possibly can get, especially for someone that's so intimate. If you hit up Hawk, he'll hit you back. You know how hard that is to find?
I do like to hit people back.
It's hard to find that in like someone that's got good content like that. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're incredible. Like, I follow you because I follow you and I like your stuff, not just because like whatever. I think that you make great videos. But other than you, what are some maybe TV shows, podcasts, personalities that you really trust or you just like to hear the opinion of?
So I'd be remiss if I didn't announce, shout out the king of NBA YouTube, which is Kenny Beecham. Like, he just started a podcast himself, the Kenny Beecham Pod. His content is great for what I try to do, just very knowledgeable fans. Like, he has more, I would say, insider isn't the word I'm looking for, but more like connections to the NBA than I do. Obviously, like, he's had NBA players on podcasts of his and stuff like that, but he says himself, he's like, I'm just a fan. Like, that's how he classifies himself. So if you just want to hear another well-informed fan's opinion, I'd say definitely check out his content. If you're looking, some of my favorites though, like, he's definitely one of my favorites. His Through the Wire podcast is very good as well. I absolutely love The Mismatch. It's The Ringer's The Mismatch with Kevin O'Connor and Chris Vernon. Those two guys, it's like their name and one is perfect. They see things differently. They always can play double advocate off of each other. They have really insightful ideas because Kevin O'Connor a lot of times looks at things from more like an analytical standpoint, but not in the sense of the negative connotation that looking at things that through an analytical lens has garnered over the last couple of years. Right. Both very knowledgeable, really entertaining podcasts as well. Big fan of Bobby Marks. I read a lot of his stuff that he writes, works for ESPN. Big fan of No Dunks. Used to be known as the Starters. They used to be on NBA TV all the time. Yes. Now they're known as No Dunks. I tune into them a lot. I'm trying to think, who else do I check into often? I read a lot of The Athletic stuff.
Yeah, they got great stuff.
I don't necessarily read a lot of the stuff Shams writes, but somehow I just read a lot of stuff that other people write.
Shams actually is not a great writer. Actually,
he's not.
Enough. He's not a great writer. He knows all the stuff, but he's not great. So you're not missing out on much. But yeah.
And then some players that I think that are really good podcasts, especially during the season. I know he gets a lot of flack and a lot of people don't like his personality, but Draymond Green's podcast is great. Draymond Green's podcast is absolutely phenomenal.
That is one of the best podcasts to come out in the recent years. It's not even well produced. Homie just puts in AirPods and just like sets up his eye. I'm like, dude, you're a millionaire. You're a millionaire. Get a camera. Get a production crew. Somebody.
The audio is not good. It's from his webcam off of a MacBook. Like, it's not well produced at all.
It's crazy.
But the insights he shares from a high IQ basketball mind is fun. And some of my favorite times from watching Draymond Green podcast was when the Warriors were in the playoffs, like deep playoff runs from the Warriors. He would, and some people love or they hate it. You could say he's too engrossed in the media stuff because the episode would be out like 3 hours after the game. He's got an episode up, but so for good or bad, take that your opinion on that. I guess is what it is. But the content he produces and puts out, the high level just basketball knowledge that he's sharing is priceless. Yeah. A big fan of JJ Redick's podcast. I love the way the breakdowns that he's been doing recently. I love the partnerships he's done with did I say no dunks earlier when I was talking about the starters? I didn't mean to say no dunks when I'm talking about the starters.
You did say no dunks. You did say no dunks.
Because I also love I can't remember the name of the starters. They're formerly known as starters.
Podcast. Yeah. I don't know.
Why is the name slipping my mind? But no dunks is Nikias Jones and something Duncan. I cannot remember the other guy's first name. Those are two guys also truthfully not well produced, but the basketball knowledge is like supreme. The basketball knowledge is supreme.
When the ball knowledge is there, you can tell. You can feel
exactly. You really can though. Like you really can.
Like Draymond knows more than we know. It's just like that's just a fact. And like when he gets on and he's like, I don't exactly know why we chose to do what we do, but it's what's working. I'm like, all right, yeah, he's right.
That's actually a really good Draymond impersonation. That's really good.
I have a great Draymond. I don't know, like, of all people, why I can do Draymond. Like, why can't I do Morgan Freeman? I know I can't. I can do Draymond. I remember when he did that press conference after like he like stepped on somebody or something. He was like kicking somebody. Remember that?
He stepped on Sabonis.
Yeah, and he was like
that one in the playoffs. Yeah,
it's exciting, right? It's exciting, like. The playoff atmosphere.
Why is that so good?
It's exciting. I was like, what? It was like I started doing that. My friends loved it. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Draymond podcast.
That is really good.
I know, for no reason. Like I there's no reason I should sound like Draymond Green, but for some reason.
Wow.
But yeah, his is great. All great stuff. It's a good time to be a basketball fan because there's so much content from different levels of the media. Like you got people that are very casual. You got people that are engrossed in the game, people that are just YouTube. It's everywhere. And all different types of content too. Like some people, like I watched Thinking Basketball on YouTube.
I was about to say him. That was my next one. I was like, he's really good too.
They get into the nitty gritty of like schematics of why things are working, like what the different names, different things are. So if you're like a basketball fan with the X's and O's, that's a place you can go too. So like there's something for everybody for sure.
Yeah. I also last two that I really like since you said Thinking Basketball because I love Thinking Basketball. I was skeptical of both of these at first. It took a long time for me to get into it because I didn't think I would find interest in it. Paul George's podcast is pretty good.
Yep.
Not for me, at least, not so much because of learning about the game as it's happening, like a Draymond Green podcast. But if you're interested in like the players themselves as people, the way players are able to, I don't know, maybe because he's another player, a former player, they just are more relaxed when talking to Paul. So they might not be talking about the game that happened last week, but they might share a candid story about like just their journey throughout the league and how they got to where they are.
The Terrence Mann episode was really cool for that reason. They talk about Kawhi, and I'm like, it's fun. You get to see a little insight into like what these guys are really like, and they're talking about how Kawhi was like, like a airball. He's like, I'm not running, like whatever. Yeah. And and they were all like laughing. It's cool to see that side of them. Tyrese Halliburton had a really good episode.
Yes, Tyrese's was really good.
So I think that's a good one. If your favorite player's on it, or one of your favorite players,
check it out. Yeah,
it's a must watch because they become themselves. Like I watched The Old Man and the Three. That's JJ Redick's. I went to the live version with Marcus Smart.
Nice.
Marcus Smart was there. It was a Marcus Smart episode. I missed my guy. So he was the guy, and it wasn't as personal as like the Paul George one is. Maybe it's because it was a crowd, but like it was more basketball based, which is great. Yeah. There's a place for that. But it would be really cool to see like a Paul George episode with like a guy like Mark, like my favorite player, Marcus. Like it'd be really cool to see that because they really come out. Their personalities come out a ton. All the stories are coming. It's great. It's a good little podcast for that. I'm glad you showed that. And you said you had one more.
So the last one I think is really controversial because I don't like the full version of it, but I like when he's by himself. And that's No Chill Gil. That's Gil's Arena.
Yes, he's so funny, dude. Oh, he's so funny.
I don't love his guests. Albeit like the guys he's with. Yeah. I don't love them.
Who are they?
I say that all the time. I don't love them. But Gil has done a couple of episodes where he's just been by himself. And one, yes, he's hilarious. But when he's by himself, I feel like he has really high level knowledge. Like he has good basketball knowledge.
Yes.
And I like hearing him talk about basketball. I just wish it wasn't with everyone else. That's why I'm like, I like him, but sometimes I'll scrub through to be like, okay, when is only he talking?
He has to dial it in a little bit.
Yes, he has to dial it in
and say what he wants to say. I think another person that's really good alone and less good with other people is Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith's individual work is like really good. I like when he just gets the mic, and when it's not basketball, I like when he's talking. Do you see this video on the Will Smith stuff?
Yes.
Oh, it was awesome. It was so funny. He's like, dude, you gotta listen. You gotta leave that brother alone. I was like,
yo, he is. He does a lot.
So good. So he's funny. I think that's
a good time.
So there's plenty of content out there for you. I mean, none of it's Hawks hoops. You guys got to go watch some Hawks hoops videos. I can't get over how good your stuff is because it really is like so timely. It's like, it's not like it's as it's happening in that sense. It's like, because you'll come with a little, but you realize that. And so you add a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
So you'll say you're a little bit of your opinion. A lot of people will you're not Shams or Woj, you're not releasing the news. You're just talking about the news, and when it's relevant still, like, within a 3-day span, it's all relevant. So you see it, you ingest it, you think about it, you come out with a very unbiased opinion. It's incredible. So you said you've transitioned more to the podcast.
I appreciate that because that is a good, and I feel like that's a good breakdown of what I tried to do because sometimes I feel like I battle with, this came out, I got to talk about it right away. But truthfully, but just between work and life and whatever, I just don't have the time to maybe talk about it right away. So it comes out 2-3 days later, but that also gives you time to marinate on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
and I watched videos. I watched the video on the Jrue Holiday trade yesterday. Like, obviously I'm a little like I watch stuff all the time. And I feel like, within the first 4 days, I'm watching everything I can. So there's not too much of a press. And I think it's just good to have you pop up on the feed and just say like, hey, like, what's going on with Wembanyama? Like, he's not rebounding the ball as well. Then I got interested. I was like, is he really? And I was looking at the stats. Like, he really doesn't fucking rebound. It's like, you don't notice it because he's so big, and every catch he gets looks like a rebound.
Yeah.
But he's not. He doesn't really rebound the ball. And I was like, then that added some knowledge too.
Yeah. It's funny, that particular video, everyone was saying like, he's not rebounding because he's getting on the break. And I'm like, well, yeah, he is. And that's also, I didn't love how much Pop was. I don't know if it was intentional by design or he was just leaking. I'm like, I was watching it, like, why are you so far out every possession? But
I think it's just,
it might be by design. I don't know, but
I think he's on the wing.
That could be it too. That could be it too.
Like, he's like a paint disruptor from the wing somehow because he can reach so far. So they like to keep him out there, and then as soon as the ball, turns, like, he's already out. He's already out.
4 or 5 steps, and he's there. That is true. It might not be leaking early. It's just I'm that tall.
Yeah, he's just that tall. And then so it's just really good stuff though. But you said you're moving more towards the podcast stuff. Is there stuff that you're looking to break into? Some things that you're looking to start, like a new series you're looking to start, or is there anything you're looking to do in the future that's coming up? Kind of like use this as like a little announcement.
Yeah, so I say new, but it's all content to me. And one of the things that I explore. I don't know if struggle is the word, but explore is. I like to try new content all the time. Like that's just me. I like to try new things, keeps me engaged, keeps me excited. That's why I started on TikTok a couple of years ago. That's when I started live streaming. I still enjoy live streaming, but I wanted to do something different because, and it's not a bad thing, it's just the nature of live streaming. I feel like I can't get as in depth as I would like to in certain things because I'm also trying to be entertaining and engaging, which I try to do in all of my content, but it feels different live.
Yeah.
So what the new things I'm working on is I'm calling it a podcast, but not every episode is necessarily going to be an hour. Sometimes I have 4 things that I want to talk about. I have notes on 4 things because part of it's just because of how my life and time is available to me. Instead of sitting down making 4 10-minute videos, I'm going to sit down for 40 minutes to an hour and talk about 4 or 5 different things. And technically, yes, it's on audio and it is a podcast, but it's really just, these are the topics that are on my mind right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not necessarily and this is bad for this is not what you want to do if you want to grow something in terms of content wise. There's not necessarily a schedule out for it, but because I just have so many, like I just have basketball ideas and I just write down notes. Like there are so many notes that never even make it to a video that I'm like, these can just be a part of what this new podcast is going to be. So
yeah, and
that's the new venture.
I think of that all the time, like the amount of things, because my podcast is very much like having someone on talking about what they got going on. This is honestly a little different than what I usually do. Like we're focusing very much on basketball, not so much on you, because you've already been on before, so we got to talk about you already. So that's kind of the freedom of having someone on a second time. But yeah, there's things that you want to do, or like especially basketball related, because I get those ideas that pop in my mind. I'm like, I'd be sick to just talk about that really quick. But like, it's hard as a content creator of any kind, no matter what level you are, to switch up what you're doing just for routine purposes. Like, it's not because like, oh, I'm scared to ruin my brand or anything. Like, I mean, me at my level, like, we don't really care too much. It's more just like, I just don't want to change the routine that I'm already stuck in. So it's a funny little thing. I've talked to my friends, but they're like, just do it. Like, no one cares. I'm like, no, I don't care about you guys. Like, I don't. Yeah. Like, I just, it's a little scary to change your life up all the time like that. And like add an hour instead of like maybe taking like 3 days where you're taking 10 minutes. It's like now you got 2 days where you take an hour, and it's like a little interesting. It's just different. It's just a different thing. And I'm excited to listen to some of your podcasts. I feel like that's the type of form that I like and that I enjoy. Just put something on in the background, let it fly, and enjoy. So I'm excited to hear some of that.
And that's also part of the reason why I'm excited to go down this venture, if you will. It's because that's what I consume. I'm like, I thought to myself, why am I forcing myself to make content that I don't consume, that I don't like to consume? Like, I enjoyed producing it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I really did enjoy like making dedicated TikToks from time to time. I enjoy being live with people. I like that interaction aspect of it. But the content that I consume the most is, who has a new podcast? Like, what's the new episode? Like, I'm always scouring for episodes of podcasts or like long form content to put on in the background while I'm working on something else. Listen to it at work. Listen to it while I drive. Like, I listen to more podcasts in my car than music. So I figure might as well make what I enjoy to consume.
It's a great idea. It's something that I feel like anybody that makes something out there will completely understand. It's very relatable. It's a relatable feeling for sure. At least for me, it is. But yeah, I wish really good luck to you going forward. I'm really excited to get you in front of some more people again. I like having these conversations with you. It's a great time. I feel like we have the same level of basketball knowledge. So
I would agree.
Interesting because not everyone you come across knows ball to that capacity. Like a lot of my friends will be like, yeah, I wish Anthony Davis would shoot more threes. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if you know, but he actually can't shoot threes. So it's funny you say that.
Exactly.
But so you got some friends that are
speaking
like
of
that.
But Darvin Ham saying he wants him to shoot 6 a game.
What the hell is that?
I saw the quote. I had to take the time to I don't know if it was an interview or I got to look up what the full context of that was. I've just seen the quote of Darvin Ham wants Anthony Davis to shoot 6 a game, but I'm like, what? But
yeah, his thing was, I guess, he's like, well, if you think about it, 3.5, it's not that many. And I'm like, Like, what's that even? I need to watch the full clip too, but that's like hilarious. Like 3.5. You take six 3-point shots a game at 30% 3-point shooting. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
really
not
good offense. That's 6
no.
possessions. And that's like what? Like probably not a tenth even, but like that's 6 of your like maybe 100 possessions in the game max. It's that you're just losing. And the basketball is all about possessions. That's all I've ever been taught. Is like the more possessions you can create and the less possessions you give away, you're gonna win the game. Offensive rebounds, forcing turnovers, and hitting your shots are all ways of making sure that you're maximizing your possessions.
Maximizing your possessions, yeah.
So just throwing a couple away just to throw a wrinkle in or whatever. He's like, I just want to see it happen. Like what? Like, what are you doing? It's a funny thing you brought that up. But yeah, otherwise, episode 106 is almost in the books. Hawk, did you enjoy your time coming back on the podcast?
I did. I'm so happy you invited me back. When you DM'd me, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Like 100%. There was literally no hesitation in my mind. So
yeah,
thanks for having me back on.
You're like, yep.
I was excited. I was excited when you hit me up. I was like, oh, bet this is great. I enjoyed our conversation last time, and I had a great time this time.
Right, you're my basketball guy for sure. Because like again, as I said, a lot of my friends don't know hoop like that. So when especially coming into the season, things like this, like I definitely like to have someone like you on, and it'll be more. I might be asking you a little bit more frequently in terms of like maybe
not opposed.
Maybe it won't wait a year next time. Maybe I'll ask you somewhere in between because I'm not having on as many new people. I like to have people back now, and I think that'd be a good idea to have you back on more to talk about some hoops, especially if people like this, which I think they will. So, I
know I said this last time, but we're actually going to make it happen. I'm going to get you on my show as well. And it's funny. One of the reasons I wanted to switch to a podcast format was most of my long form content was live. And part of my hesitation of asking a bunch of people on, I was like, I don't know if people want to go live. Like, I don't know if something people's comfortable with, but I feel more comfortable doing it if it's recorded podcast form and I can release it later. So we'll be having you on soon. I'll do
it. If you ever need a second opinion, or if you want a Celtics person, I love the Celtics, and I feel like that's definitely going to be a topic of conversation throughout the year is what's going on with the C's. So if you need any Celtics opinions or anything Marcus Smart related, Marcus is still my guy. Fucking love you, 36. But otherwise, yeah, I'm happy you had a good time. I'm happy we got to do this again. Signing off, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, check out Hawks Hoops, the DOD-Cast as well, if you're just catching this on any of his stuff. Otherwise, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.